Hello out there, fellow comic book fans. It's Saturday morning, and I am going to do one more review because it was a thick book, and I felt that it deserved a single review, one of its own, for two reasons. One, just because I hadn't quite finished it when I did my review video last night, and I had like the last 2 pages to read. It was a little letter from Scott Snyder, and it was just that good that I wanted to do it separate. Excuse me. It is Wytches, Bad Eggs, the Halloween special. Now, if you look at this thing, you can see how thick it is compared to some of the other comics out there. For those of you who don't know anything about Wytches, there was I guess it was a miniseries done by Scott Snyder a little while ago called Wytches, about a young girl named Sailor who comes across these witches in the woods, and they like eating kids, and they're different than the type of witches in other literature and comics and stuff. These are really, really scary, and the young ones grow in woods, and it's really good. And so it's been a while, and then they were going to do, Scott Snyder announced he was going to start doing another little series in the back of Image previews, just like a few pages each, in a few pages in each episode, and or issue. I never really started picking them up for some reason, and by the time I started to remember, there were a few in, and I knew I'd be lost. So I decided to try and wait for the trade paperback or equivalent, and this is it. This is going to set up between the first arc, the one that's already out, and a new arc that's coming out featuring Sailor again. So that'd be, arc 2. But this one has nothing to do with Sailor. This actually has to do with a young boy by the name of Sebastian, who is wakes up one morning late for school. He'd been up late the night before working with his mom on a science project, and so he has to get to school on time. And his mom's like, hurry up, get to school, but don't go through any vacant lots, stay on the main streets. And of course, a boy being a boy, and realizing, hey, I'm going to be late for school, he tries to cut through a vacant lot. And his van pulls up beside him. Turns out that it's a friend of his father's, or the father of a friend, I should say. It's like, hey, let's give you a ride to school. And he's a little suspicious at first, but it's like, all right. And it turns out that he was right to be a little suspicious, and bad things happens, and he gets saved by his mother. Jump forward 6 months, and he's at a new school in a new town. And it turns out that this is a regular occurrence. They move frequently. It's just him and his mother, who he describes as very protective. It doesn't allow him to get close to people, make any friends. In fact, she wants him to not make friends with people. And it slowly reveals during the story why. And, it's him, and it's also his neighbor who he is sort of breaking the rules, his mom's rule, and become friends with him. He couldn't help it. The kid was just, unrelenting. The kid wanted to be friends. He was lonely, and so was Sebastian. And they're both into, little stock car racing and, the little tracks, if you're old enough to remember those. And it's really, this is pretty much about friendship. But there's an underlying story where you find out that Sebastian comes from a long family of hunters, of the Wytches, and that's why his mom wants him to not become friends with people, because they hunt not only the Wytches but families who work for the Wytches. And families, will take care of the Wytches' babies and do things for them in exchange for like long life and special favors. And some of that includes taking care of the witch babies, digging pits for them, and other things. And so they do favors in order to get this extended life. And there are different levels of these families. So his family hunts those, and then there are other families who know about the hunters and they take care of the kids. This sets up the whole world. So this is world building, along with a very, very kind of creepy, well done story involving Sebastian and his friend, who I can't remember the kid's name right now, and Sebastian's mother, and actually the friend's parents. I don't want to go too much into that because it'll ruin the story. But this is incredibly well done, because not only does it bring in a lot of the world, does a lot of world building in this. It does it in an interesting way. It carries the story, and it doesn't involve a lot of exposition shoved down your throat. And it's woven evenly into this kind of nice little story about friendship and a creepy horror story all in one. So you have like 3 different levels going on, and I just couldn't put it down. I had to, because I was reading it at work, so I could read it in between customers. But I'm telling you, this was let's see, $8, and it was worth every penny of it. And so I highly recommend it. Now, like I said, the story was fantastic. And if you take a look at the art, so if you've watched any of my review stories and everything, review videos, I'm sure you've heard me mention that I am a big fan of the more smooth, realistic type of art, sort of like Jim Lee, John Byrne, people like that. And the more scratchy type of stuff, I'm not a super big fan of. But, Jordy Belair, I enjoy her stuff too. But this art goes with the story. It works for this type of, it works for the story. And I think it adds to the mood Sort of like what they do in Redlands and what is it? Gideon Falls, I think it is. But the art in this is perfect for the story, and I think that's why they use it in this fashion. So, I mean, it is a wonderful book. Well done. And at the very end, there is and this is the part that I hadn't read last night, so that's why I didn't do the video. There's a little letter, or not letter, but a kind of a 2-page essay story written by Scott Snyder, talking about witches and how things are going to happen, and a little story about him and his son, which it's not something you'd expect to read in something like this, but it was really nice. It was really touching and nice to read, and it fit in with the story, trust me, and it made it all the more better. And so I'm going to have to give this a 4.75 out of 5, and recommend that if you can still find a copy, get it, read it. Read the original series. It's out in trade paperback, and I guarantee you read these and you will get the next series that comes out, and you will enjoy it. So, all right, that's it for today. Let me know if you bought it, if you liked it as much as I did, and like and subscribe. Bye.